This is the Barbecue Central Radio Show, which is recorded live each Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Barbecue Central Radio Show is being brought to you by The Barbecue Guru, the original creators of automatic temperature control devices, now offering 4 different models for you to choose from. Rest easy knowing that The Barbecue Guru is controlling your pit temperature so you can get on with your life. Visit bbqguru.com or call 800-288-GURU for more information. And by Fred's Music and Tasty Licks BBQ Supply, your online barbecue and grilling superstore. From cookers to grills, wood chips and chunks, and everything in between. Also be sure to try the Tasty Licks barbecue brand of rubs and sauces. Check Fred out online at tastylicksbbq.com. And by Stephen DeFranco Jewelers. Located in beautiful Willoughby, Ohio, Stephen DeFranco Jewelers is a family-owned and operated business looking to service the great folks of the barbecue and grilling world. Get free shipping and big discounts by mentioning my name and the term Barbecue Brother. Check out their inventory by visiting StephenDeFranco.com. And by Butcher Barbecue, with 30 years of experience in retail, wholesale, meat markets, food service, and customer service. Using that experience, everything they do and sell at Butcher's Barbecue comes from real-world knowledge. Check out their award-winning spices, sauces, marinades, and injections by visiting ButcherBBQ.com. Always trust your butcher. And by the Barbecue Institute. Take your barbecue to the next level with the Barbecue Institute class. Pitmaster Conrad Teddy Bear Haskins uses his years of catering and restaurant experience combined with food science and smoking secrets to help you understand how to improve your barbecue. Visit bbqinstitute.com and register for classes today. And by Barbecuer's Delight Wood Pellets, making pellets since 1994, 2/3 oak, 1/3 flavor wood, giving you that sweet, succulent smoke that you're looking for on your meat, both for grills and bullet-style smokers, and of course, in larger quantities for your pellet-fed smokers. Find them at bbqrsdelight.com.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Barbecue Central Show, the show where we talk about all things that are important in the world of barbecue. From big-name interviews with competitors on the barbecue circuit, grill manufacturers and pit makers, to advice on cooking brisket and ribs. You'll find it all right here on the Barbecue Central Show. Your host, Greg Rempe, is a backyard barbecue and grilling fanatic and loves to talk about his passion, which many of us share together. You can learn more about barbecue and grilling by visiting the website, thebbqcentral.com. Now, let's get in the smoke. Here's your program host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the really big Barbecue Central Show. Yeah, it's the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. We have now been proclamized the barbecue capital of the North Coast. Finally did. Thank goodness. What took us so long? I don't know. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday. Let me give you some contact information in case you want to jump in on the show tonight. You're more than welcome to do it. One of two ways if you feel the need. You can call toll-free 877-448-0433. You can also email the show if you would like, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com, and those are the two ways to do it, 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Here's what's happening tonight in case you missed out on the newsletter. By the way, we had initially had a limit on the amount of subscribers to the newsletter, that being 500. We had eclipsed that a little bit earlier in the week finally, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to punish some of the other people that want to get the newsletter. They want to get the inside scoop. Sometimes you're getting special deals if you sign up for it from some of the show sponsors. I don't want to be that guy, so I went ahead and upgraded. Now we can take 1,000. You're welcome. So race on over. I'll show you where to sign up for that here in a second because we're going to take a look at the new website because you haven't checked it out yet. But here's what's happening on the show. 14 past the hour, so about 12 minutes from now, Jeff Brown from Wildcatters Q Crew We'll be recapping their win in, I believe it was Midwest City, Oklahoma this past weekend. I get a little background on him, all that good stuff. 35 past the hour of 9 o'clock finds monthly contributor to the show, Robin Lindars, the Grill Girl, writer of Grill Girl blog. We're going to be talking a little Memphis in May. I believe somebody in the chat room right now, Chris Grove, and Robin's Pops is going to be taking a jaunt down to Memphis in May this year and working on the People's Choice category. Don't know if they're actually going all in and doing the actual Memphis in May contest itself. Why not? I mean, if you're going to be down there. But we'll talk to her about that 35 past the hour of 9 o'clock. Second hour, around 10:14, Conrad Teddy Bear Haskins will be joining us, the founder of the Barbecue Institute. So we'll get a little background about that. We'll be talking about some of the classes that he offers. But more importantly, some of the misconceptions that grillers and barbecuers have when lighting up the grills and smokers and cookers and all that good stuff. And secondarily to that, some of the myths and legends that are out there that might not be true, the misinformation, the misrepresentation. Yeah, Midwest City, that's what I meant. Thank you, Great Plains, for that. 35 past the hour of 10, helping me close out the show, Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue. He also competed at the Sam's Club event in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Finished 5th overall, so we have 1st and 5th place respectively. So we'll, again, get his recap of that particular event, and Dave has promised to share some really insightful stuff as it relates to Sam's Club and the like. I'm not going to ruin it. I'm not going to be that guy. All right, let me tell you, first and foremost, that there was a new website that launched here for the show. And for the people just listening on the audio side, I apologize because this isn't going to make a lot of sense to you. That's why you should tune into the radio TV show. Nevertheless, let me give you a quick look at it. This is what the new Barbecue Central Radio Network's homepage looks like. We have some candid shots of me. And as you scroll down, you can see right here in the navigation side, you have a home button, and then you have about the show. Now, here's a little trick. You can see that there's 1, 2, 3 different headings that have the little down arrow, which means there's going to be subsequent titles or subsequent link navigations underneath that. However, the main navigation button, so for instance here, about the show, that is its own link as well. So if you click that, that'll bring you to the page about me, about the show, some show hot buttons, all that great stuff. So don't think that just because there's a drop-down menu that you can't click the main link in each of the title address bars. You can absolutely do that. But then you can also find out more about me. You can find out how to become an advertiser on the show, radio show affiliates, all of that good stuff. So that's what's under the About the Show. Then you have show archives. You have the YouTube channel, which if you've never gone over there, we'll link over there real quick. I've been trying at least over the last number of weeks. Oh, man, I just saved myself a headache right here, I can tell you that. If you take a look, I've kind of sectioned off some of the segment interviews that I've done over the past. Jim Shaheen, Andy Groneman, Shotgun Fred, Bruce Bjorkman, Fred Bernardo of Tasty Lakes Barbecue, and it's just those specific interviews that I did. So it's not the whole show that's there. And then we have, let's go back home, we have show archives. So again, YouTube channel there. And then we also have the older show archives. So everything that was on the previous website is also here available. Barbecue and Grilling Secrets Revealed. I'm not going to tell you about that. You'll have to check that out on your own. We have sponsors of the show. So here's a little write-up on everybody that is currently sponsoring on the show. You also see them over here on it would be your right-hand side of the screen, I believe. But here you get a little write-up of each sponsor. And as always, I would recommend that if you are looking for something for your barbecue or cooker, that you give these guys first consideration. Blog is pretty self-explanatory. Then you have the links. So you have, if you click there, it's going to just give you text links. You have the Barbecue Central Forum. You have, again, sponsors. Some of my favorite sites like Patio Daddio Barbecue, Pink Shoe Hero Foundation, Smoke Signals Blog, Outdoor Cooking Channel. If you'd like me to link you up, please feel free to send me a link through the email, and I'll be happy to do that as time allows. Also, maybe you guys want to earn a little extra money right here. Maybe you know a foreign language. You can translate some documents in your spare time. You can take surveys in your spare time if you're a creative writer. That's not just up there for fun. You know what I'm saying? So if you have some extra time or you want to make a little extra buck, check out the Earn Extra Money link there in the links section as well. So now we'll transition back over. Okay, so here's me. Some great shots, I must say. So you have streaming options. Like right now, this is the opening segment of the Barbecue Central radio show. This is what's happening live. You have your Windows Media Player option. You have a QuickTime option. And you also have the Real Player. And then here, right here in the middle off to the right-hand side, sign up for the newsletter. So we have plenty more spots available. You can share this site on Facebook. You can tweet about it. You can also check me out on Facebook, the Google+, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, which I would like to get more involved with. I just can't figure out a really great way to do that yet, but we're keeping on it. Let's just say it like that. And, of course, the link to the video side of the show, the Outdoor Cooking channel, recent tweets that I've done here, and then, of course, sponsorship. Look, right down here at the very bottom, towards the left underneath the sponsor says, take our survey. So I would impress upon each and every one of you, if you could spend 2 minutes to take it. It's not going to take any personal information. I'm not going to know who filled it out per name, but if you could do that, just so we could have some demographics of the audience and, you know, who's listening to the show, all that great stuff. So as I add things to the website, they show up right here in the middle section, whether it's under a blog post, whether it's a show archive, what have you. And then we have this little ticker, the news ticker. So I try and keep that updated as much as possible as well. So that's the news site. And hopefully you enjoyed the little tutorial there. Let me kill that real quick. All right, now I have to make this adjustment here before we run off to the first break. I apologize. So stand by just for 1 second. And we're back. Apologize for that. You weren't going to hear my guest. I can tell you that much if I didn't take care of that. Question from Don G is the what's happening on the show email. That is the newsletter. So if you've already signed up for it once, don't bother doing it again. You're just taking somebody else's spot. And that's not fair to anybody. All right, I didn't get to any of the KCBS standings or the FBA standings, so we'll have to put that aside here for now because we got a clock to keep, people. We're very professional. Also, we got to get to the Survey Tuesday questions. Thanks to everybody that went over to the Facebook page and gave me their 2 cents. I do have Survey Tuesday questions, which we'll get here in just a second. All right, quickly, let me tell you about the Barbecue Institute. You want to take your barbecue to the next level with a Barbecue Institute class. Pitmaster Conrad Teddy Bear Haskins uses his years of catering and restaurant experience combined with food science and smoking secrets to help you understand how to improve your barbecue. Backyard smokers and those folks who want to open a business drive from all over the country and the world to take the Barbecue Institute's small, friendly, and informative classes. And the Barbecue Institute has a full schedule of classes in Texas this spring, covering everything from a short fajita class to an all-day class on how to cook the basics. Brisket, pork, ribs, chicken, all that good stuff. Let me ask you a question. You ever dream of owning your own barbecue business? One of the most popular classes at the Barbecue Institute is the Commercial Barbecue class. Learn from Conrad's years of experience owning a restaurant and catering company how to produce a product that your customers will become addicted to. Nothing is more as expensive as failing in a commercial venture, and that is why students take this class and then they start successful barbecue operations all over the country and the world. Now, having owned too many cookers of every shape and size and all three major brands of commercial pits, Conrad is finally having his dream classic Texas offset smoker built. It's based on the current Gator, but all of these features that he has always wanted is going to be on this thing, and he's kind of doing this on-tour type deal, if you will. It's going to kick off in Prosser, Washington State on June 2nd. It'll culminate with a trip to Riverhead, New York on August 3rd, and you'll be able to check out the Barbecue website or the Barbecue Institute website for details, including the locations of the stops that Conrad will be making in between these two locations as they are announced. Of course, when not teaching on the weekend, Conrad is conducting private classes and corporate events from coast to coast during the week. To make your next off-site event really memorable, have the Barbecue Institute off-site party. Show your employees that you care and you will buy the very best barbecue that money can buy. And this is something that they will be literally talking about for years. Say goodbye to turnover. Say goodbye to unhappy employees. You hook them up with a Barbecue Institute offsite party, and they are very happy indeed. Now, for details on the Barbecue Institute class, visit the website, bbqinstitute.com, or check out their Facebook page for the latest news and pictures. Once again, that's bbqinstitute.com, and we'll be talking about, or not even about him, we'll be talking to Conrad Haskins here a little bit later in the show. We're coming back with Jeff Brown from Wildcatters Q Crew. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Coming up on 14 past the hour, 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com are the two ways to get in touch with the show. Survey Tuesday questions, if you are interested in that. Are ceramic cookers overrated? Is the Sam's Club National Tour good or bad for barbecue? And hot and fast or low and slow? We'll get those along with some of the other chat room members' ideas here for Survey Tuesday. All right, my first guest tonight will be advancing to the St. Charles, Missouri Regional Finals at the Sam's Club National Tour. That'll take place on September 29th. Thanks to his winning of the Sam's Club local event this past weekend in Midwest City, Oklahoma. And here to recap that weekend for us, Pitmaster of Wildcatters Q Crew, Jeff Brown, joining us here on the show. Jeff, how are you, buddy?
Great.
Good, Jeff. I appreciate you making time for us. And I know you're on your way to Las Vegas as we speak to get ready for the AMC Barbecue Throwdown this coming weekend. You know, before we get into Sam's Club win, Jeff, for those that aren't familiar with Wildcatters Q Crew, can you give me a little background about yourself and when you decided to jump into competition barbecue?
We was actually selling smokers. We was doing that on the side, and we attended a competition, and that was back in 2005. Been hooked ever since.
Did you like compete the first time and win and like hook, line, and sinker? Or you just had fun doing it?
No, I turned in some leather, and that chicken was not finger licking good.
No. Still hooked nonetheless, though, huh?
Do what?
I said you were still hooked nonetheless.
Oh yeah. Always have loved to cook. Had a little bit of culinary skills. Took some school on that back. I guess I would have been about 18 years old, and had my own restaurant shortly after that for a short time. And I've always loved to cook.
Jeff Brown joining us here on the show from Wildcatters Q Crew. Jeff, I've talked to a number of Pitmasters since the inception of the Sam's Club Tour last year. You know, the majority of them very positive about the whole thing, but recently I've gotten some detractors, and the biggest complaint is that some of the local events that had been established for years prior to Sam showing up are now taking teams away. Some of those events are even being canceled. You know, you travel around quite a bit. You talk to other Pitmasters, Jeff. Do you hear a lot of this talk, or do you hear any of that talk at all?
It has affected some of the contests. I think this year, at least in our area, I think some of that has been worked out. Last year, it did create some problems.
How do you personally feel about it? What's your take on it?
You know, Sam's is a great event. we need to get more people involved in barbecue to cover to make up the difference.
There you go. All right, Jeff. So let's take a look at this past weekend. I mean, you really can't finish any higher than you did because you won in the overall sense. And we'll get back to the individual categories here in just a second. But as you look back on the weekend as a whole, how did the cook go for you? Was there anything out of the ordinary that you had to contend with out there?
Weather-wise, we had a beautiful weekend. We did have a couple of issues that we had to correct. But as far as the weekend in a whole, we had a great weekend.
What are you cooking on, Jeff?
We are cooking on 2 stump stretch smokers.
Are those the offsets?
And
are those the offset cookers, Jeff?
Yeah, the gravity-fed offset.
Okay. And how long you been cooking on those?
We've been on those for 2.5 years.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the individual categories here. Chicken, and we'll kind of run down through them as they happen in a competition. So chicken's always first called. You end up getting 11th overall. I'm sure they were calling top 10 just like they usually do at the Sam's Club. So you don't get a call right off the bat. After you get the 11th result, as you look back at chicken as a category, how did you feel about it that day?
We felt pretty good about our chicken that day, actually. It kind of surprised me. Chicken's really been one of our strongest categories. So after the call did come in chicken, we really didn't know what we were in store for it.
Is it one of those things where, if you get the call in chicken, you kind of have a better whole feeling about the event, or does it not necessarily shake out that way for you most of the time?
Not necessarily. We did have a time or two last year, I think, where we didn't receive a call in chicken and didn't come out doing decent in the contest. But then there was a couple of contests where we didn't get a call in chicken, and didn't do well in the other categories either.
All right, so 11th overall. Then you go to ribs. So you get third, which is great. There was 29 teams, so you did substantially better than most. How did you feel about the ribs turning?
We felt good about the ribs. They went they was par for what we've been doing. We had a change in ribs about mid last year. They really hurt us at the beginning of last year. I couldn't get it together on the ribs, so I turned that over to another teammate, which is my father, and he tweaked them and seems to be doing well with them at this time.
You guys cooking loin backs, or you do the spare ribs?
We do the spares.
Okay, and you trim them down St. Louis style?
Yes, we do.
All right, and then you have pork. So 10th place in pork. Right at where they're starting to end the calls. Are you just happy to get a call? Were you happy with the pork that day?
Yeah, we was just happy to get a call there in pork. There again, pork last year, that was one of our stronger categories. So, we was definitely glad to hear a name called there.
I've talked to a bunch of pitmasters even just this year, Jeff, and one thing that seems to almost be kind of a common thread, and nobody can really seem to put their finger on it, is that they did really well with pork last year, and this year there's something that is tripping that up, and they can't really seem to put a finger on it. Are you guys finding that pork is not finishing off as well as it did in years past for you this year?
We have seen that. We generally would score slightly higher than what we scored there. Taste profiles can change. We're just going to have to do some experimenting and find out the hard way. What we might or might not need to do.
Now, always the hard way to do it is the hard way, of course, not to be redundant. So you get 10th place call in pork. You go to brisket. You take that category without fail. Was the brisket exceptional that day? Did you not think it was a number one brisket by chance?
It was a nice brisket. We cooked actually 2 nice briskets that day. I did not I didn't feel like it was number one, but there again, we didn't have a lot of number one calls last year in brisket. So after this weekend, we'll try to repeat. We'll try to repeat this weekend here and see what happens.
Jeff Brown joining us here on the show from Wildcatters Q Crew. They won this past weekend's Midwest City, Oklahoma Sam's Club event, and they'll be moving on to the regional in St. Charles, Missouri on September 29th. I love asking this question to teams, Jeff, as the overall awards are being announced, because you had 3 calls, top 10 or better, 1 no call. And I'm always wondering where the mind is at. Do you think that the 1 no call was right there, just kind of hanging outside the top 10? Or do you think that you just tanked it all together and who knows what's going to happen?
Well, when they was calling out the top 10, when they made it to 5th place, that's when I felt like that it was just outside the gate. Once the 3rd place team was called, it was between Donnie Teal and us, and of course, as good as Donnie is, I was feeling like it was probably going to be Donnie, but we was fortunate enough to do well enough in the chicken to pull us through for the grand.
Now, were you keeping some really good track of the other teams that were being called as well? Because I think if we're just looking at the raw numbers, I would imagine that some people would think that after the brisket take, you had the best shot at winning the event at that point.
Well, I believe Donnie Teal was called in 3 categories. I think he had a 2nd place port. Is that correct? Do you have that sheet in front of you?
I don't have the exact numbers right in front of me now.
I believe he had a 2nd port and I know he had a high finish in chicken as well. He had 2nd in ribs. No, pork. Ribs is where I think he come in 16th, and that's where, it was the difference between where he came in on ribs and we came in on chicken that was going to be the decision maker.
Jeff Brown joining us here on the show. After the final scores were all tabulated, you ended up having a 10-point gap over Donnie Teal. Were you surprised that you won kind of going away a little bit?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
That was nice, though, right? Nice to get it rolling like that. Yeah. Now, I stated at the top of the interview, Jeff, Wildcatters Q Crew is going to be competing in Las Vegas this weekend. Are you able to roll any kind of momentum into the AMC Throwdown because of the win this past weekend, or you just leave that one sit in Oklahoma and start fresh in Las Vegas?
Oh, it was a great power boost for us. We needed that, heading out here to Vegas. The Vegas contest, this will be our 2nd year doing it. Of course, last year it was the USA Barbecue Championship. We finished 4th overall last year. There again, it was great weather, great cook for us, and at the Midwest City, we needed that boost.
Are you guys fans of the Smoke on the Water events? You like what Ronnie Cates and his crew are doing for competition barbecue and what they have been doing for the last handful of years?
Yeah, I think Ronnie does a great job.
Because you like the money, or do you just like the way the events are run? Because he puts on some big money contests now.
Yeah, it is a money contest, but it's the things that take place at the contest as well. Like this weekend, for instance. Combining it with the AMC Music Awards, that's great. When he has them at the NASCAR tracks, I think that's they go together.
I'm wondering, Jeff, and you travel around quite a bit, do you find that flavor profiles will differ? You were in Oklahoma this past weekend, you're going to be in Nevada this coming. Do you have to make any type of an adjustment, or will you just hold firm to the processes that you're using because they are working pretty well for you right now and just let the chips fall where they may?
Well, in the past, I have made the adjustments and changes. This year, I'm going to try to stick with the same flavor profiles wherever we cook. For instance, we cooked a contest in Phoenix last year, early in the year, and I changed my profiles, and we didn't do well at all. So we're just going to stick with the same game this year and see how it turns out. I know a lot of other cooks on the circuit. We've visited about it. I think I've spoken with a lot of them that do the traveling, and they claim they leave the profiles the same wherever they cook. So I'm going to try to jump on that trail and see how that works out.
Jeff Brown, the pitmaster of Wildcatters Q Crew, joining us here on the show. All right, Jeff, let me transition a little bit. I mean, obviously, competition, barbecue in general, the industry, all of this fascination has continued to grow hand over fist, especially it seems over the last 3, 5, 6 years. And you're seeing it more and more on television. Recently, John Marcus announced that Pitmasters Season 3 is going to make it to air. Is that something that you guys had auditioned for? And I guess more importantly, as a consumer of barbecue and a supporter of barbecue, is that a TV show that you're excited about seeing coming back on the air? Or do you think you'd rather just see that effort go off and die in the corner yet?
Oh, I like to see it come back on the air. I think it does great for the barbecue community. I think it helps get more folks involved in it. Lets them know a little bit about what it's like. Although I would like to see a little more of the season 1 profile that really lets people know what it's really like out on the barbecue circuit. But hey, I think it's great. I think I hope they can run many more seasons.
Is that a show you would like to get on at some point?
Well, we sent the audition in. If they would give us a call, we would talk to them about it.
All right, so I'll take that as a yes. Jeff Brown joining us here on the show. Jeff, you want to take the Survey Tuesday questions with me here?
Sure.
All right, here we go. First one taking them tonight. Survey Tuesday questions. Question number 1. Are ceramic cookers overrated?
No.
All right. Overpriced? Maybe overpriced or no?
Overpriced? Yes.
Okay. Question number 2. I think I'm going to know the answer to this question here, but I'll ask you anyway. Is the Sam's Club National Tour good or bad for barbecue?
The Sam's Tour?
Correct.
It's good.
All right, good it is. And question number 3. In the words of Clint Cantwell from Smoke in the Eye, hot and fast or low and slow?
Low and slow.
Traditional. Love it. All right, Jeff, thanks for taking that with me. Jeff Brown is the pitmaster of the Wildcatters Q Crew. You'll find them in Las Vegas this coming weekend trying to take the AMC Barbecue Throwdown Championship. They're moving on to the regional finals for the Sam's Club National Tour in September in St. Charles, Missouri. Jeff, appreciate the time tonight. Congratulations on the win this past weekend, and good luck in Vegas. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Hey, thank you.
You
Good
got
talking
it.
to you.
Thanks. There he is, Jeff Brown, Wildcats, pulling a big win this past weekend. So they will be advancing on. Good to advance on now. I guess that's why you do it. All right, let me get rid of that. Trying to make some quick notes here for my next guest. All right, so here are the Survey Tuesday questions again in case you missed it. Question number 1, are ceramic cookers overrated? Question number 2, is the Sam's Club National Tour good or bad for barbecue? And question number 3, hot and fast or low and slow? I don't know if you saw this. Did you see this? That's right, breaking news here, brought to you by the good folks at the Barbecue Group. Reporting live from Cleveland, Ohio, the American Royal buys the National Barbecue Hall of Fame, dated March 26th, from James Dornbrook. The American Royal Association has acquired the assets of the National Barbecue Hall of Fame, which the association hopes could be a feature of its proposed facility. The National Barbecue Hall of Fame, which the American Royal bought for an undisclosed amount. No names, please, but I heard it was bags and bags of cash. Kidding. Undisclosed amount consists only of a website. I believe The Mike from Hog Eyes was part of that. I believe Ray Basso from the Barbecue Forum was part of that at some point. All his websites look the same. It has 7 members. The hall currently has 7 members. Rich Davis, Fred Gould, Speed Herrig, Mike Mills, Carolyn Wells, Gary Wells, and John Willingham. We are now the home of the National Barbecue Hall of Fame at the American Royal and plan on installing 3 new inductees at this year's event, American Royal CEO Bob Peterson said in a release. We also plan on establishing a more permanent presence for the Hall of Fame in our new proposed facility. The American Royal wants to raise the Kemper Arena in Kansas City and replace it with the Agricultural Events Center. In March, it hired a team of professionals to come up with the proposals for financing the project. The Hall of Fame's inaugural induction ceremony will be in Kansas City on October 6th during the 33rd Annual American Royals World Series of Barbecue, which is October 4th and 7th. So there you go. The American Royal buying the National Barbecue Hall of Fame. Okay, here we go, gang. If you're like me, then you're always trying to think of ways that you, my friends, that you can step up your barbecue and grilling game. Take it up a notch. And look, there's no better way, no easier way than doing that. A little Butcher Barbecue addition to the arsenal. Need some validation before you head on over to butcherbbq.com to order? Fine. How about this? Last 3 winners of the Houston Livestock Barbecue Contest have all used and won with Butcher Barbecue. Top teams in KCBS, FBA, IBCA, they all use Butcher Barbecue products. How about the fact that the Pitmaster of Butcher Barbecue uses Butcher Barbecue products? Well, all that did was get him a 3rd overall in KCBS Team of the Year in 2011. Need I say more? Now, look, we all know that Butcher's is well known for the injections, the pork, the beef. Now, this Prime injection, which has combined all the things loved from their beef injection, using it award-winning enhancer and its ability to keep your brisket juicy. Then they've combined it with what has become the competition standard in beef flavor. It's available for sale right now at butcherbbq.com. And perhaps you're looking for a go-to rub or sauce. Look, you've hit the mother lode right here. Butcher Barbecue has a full line of award-winning rubs. One of my personal favorites is that steak and brisket rub. But go ahead and grab some honey rub for crying out loud, or that a premium barbecue rub. The honey rub garnered a lot of internet recognition last year. Try that premium rub like I just mentioned, especially if you inject with Butcher's, because it's formulated to work with the injection. It's a perfect 1-2 punch to impress judges and friends alike. And last but not least, Butcher's Barbecue Sweet Barbecue Sauce. Look, when it comes to sauce, I'm as picky as it gets, but Butcher's Sweet Sauce wins in every category for me. Not overly sweet, a nice hint of tang, just the right amount of back-end heat. And you know me, no liquid smoke whatsoever. Dave took the time and effort to make a quality sauce, and he didn't take the easy way out by adding some of that crap to the sauce. And by crap, I mean liquid smoke. Grab a bottle of 6. You'll thank me for it later. And no worries on breaking the bank at shipping when it comes either. Orders at $55 or less ship at $7. $56 and up ship at $9. Cheap. Head on over to butcherbbq.com and stock up now. That's butcherbbq.com. Butcher's Barbecue, always trust your butcher. All right, we're going to wrangle up Robin Lindars, and we'll be talking to her about Memphis in May. Don't forget Survey Tuesday as well. Ceramic cookers overrated. Sam's Club National Tour, good or bad for barbecue, hot and fast, or low and slow. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rampy.
Big B, Moonshine Band, Suburban Noise Records. Let's go! I'm an outlaw. Give me 2 shots. We don't need a radio.
Right. Welcome back. Almost 37 till the top of the hour. Thanks again to Jeff Brown for Wildcatters Q Crew, talking about the win over at the Sam's Club event this past weekend in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Also, second hour, we got Conrad Haskins, and we also have Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue. But notwithstanding that, we race over to the hotline. and bring up monthly contributor to the show, friend of the show, Robin Lindars. Robin, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing absolutely fabulous, Robin. What's happening over at grillgirl.com these days?
Well, it's always grilling season for us, but grilling season is kind of ramping up for everyone else. So I've just made 3 more webisodes, and I had Thermopin actually had some involvement with that, which was really cool. And just, busy doing a lot of freelancing stuff. I do a lot of writing, and there's some other stuff that's confidential that I can't tell you about, but in about 6 months I can tell you about. It'll be really fun to talk about.
6 months. Thanks for bringing it up now. I'll forget in 6 minutes.
I know. I have something really exciting that I'm dying to tell everyone, but I can't. So
all right, I'll turn off all the microphones. Go ahead. Just give me a little insider. Go ahead. Nobody's listening.
No, but I'll tell you soon enough.
Okay.
But and of course, getting ready for Memphis in May.
Now, we're going to get to that here in a second, Robin, but about these webisodes, like what is it all about for there's some barbecue people here in the chat room, they're not very technically savvy. What goes into a webisode? Why are you doing it? Who are you doing it for? Is it just for the site? What's up with that?
So I'll give you the history on me doing some webisodes. As you know, my day job, I work in PR, and I just hit something on my screen. Can you see me okay?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So I had an article in the Miami Herald last year, and a producer reached out to me, and I had done some kind of just like YouTube-ish type stuff, like home videos for McCormick's before, and just some stuff on my own, just with a handheld camera, and this producer reached out to me and said, "Do you want to do some webisodes together and see if we can put something together to maybe create like a web series?" And so it's actually like really high quality with like an HD camera and a whole production crew, which means you actually have to go out and find sponsors and whatnot. And it's like a production. I mean, you have like a food stylist if we have the budget for it, and hair and makeup, and just it's crazy, but it's fun and it's a lot of really good experience. So actually the goal is like eventually to put together like maybe a sizzle reel and see if we can get picked up sometime, and we'll see what happens.
Sounds exactly like this show. Makeup, hair. Oh, jeez, Pete. Well,
I know. Now that you're doing this whole like video Skype thing, I had to go put makeup on because I work from home, so it's kind of rare if I get dressed up.
Yeah, well, I had to slim down. I used to have the big cans on the ears. I've gone to the little earpiece and the thing there. So, kind of streamline it a little bit. I understand. I mean, makeup for you, it's earpieces for me, whatever.
Well, you look good, and the new site looks good, too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, and by the way, I'm sorry, we're talking with Robin Lindars from grillgirl.com. That's GRRRL.com if you want to check that out. Are the webisodes just specific to your website? Are they going anywhere else?
What ThermoWorks will probably do is place them a lot of places because they actually are doing some commercials at the beginning of the webisode. Mm-hmm. But just primarily for the web, and they're just video recipes. One is about, and these will probably come out in a couple months, if not like the next couple weeks. They're just in editing right now. One is about just proper internal cooking temperatures, for like fish, pork, red meat, chicken, just reaching the proper internal temperature and pulling the meat off just so you don't overcook or undercook and weird your friends out. And then some video recipes. I actually did a grilled cocktail, which was fun, and then just my favorite wing recipe, which is my old standard favorite wing recipe. So
anything with the terms ass blaster in it.
Those wings are definitely ass blast wings, that's for sure.
All right, so we'll be looking for the webisodes. And, as far as recipes, let me ask you this, because I've talked to John Dawson about it. Next time I have Chris Grove on, which I'm sure we'll talk about him here in a second as well. One thing that fascinates me about bloggers, and I guess, when you're in the niche, I have a little bit more of a fascination because we all like to grill and barbecue and all that stuff. But, for me, sure. I go in the grocery store, and I have a list, and I shop off the list, and I would never look at like cranberries and then look gaze delicately down the other aisle and see like a pork thing, and then there's sauerkraut in between, and all of a sudden like there's like a recipe happening. Is that something that happens with you? I mean, how do you get these recipes and the inspiration to come up with this stuff? Because you have to continually put content on the blog to keep it fresh.
No, you're right. And sometimes I'm like racking my brain and trying to like figure out, like I'm actually doing a contest on my site right now to give away an immersion blender, which is awesome for making barbecue sauce and marinades. And the requirements are just leave your favorite marinade recipe on the site to be eligible to win, because a lot of it is brainstorming for me too. And, when I get feedback from my readers, it can really inspire me on things that they're having success with. But truthfully, a lot of my recipes come from lack of planning. So I'm not always, even when I try to be very planned and try a recipe, God knows I'll go to the grocery store and forget something. And half the time my best recipes will come when I am too lazy to go to the store and just really have to come up with something, like doing my own little mini version of Chopped with myself, So, but a lot of it is too, like I read a lot of other blogs, and I look at Pinterest a lot to see food trends and things that are kind of trending. And I also try to think seasonally about what's going to be coming up, like from a season, like Easter's coming up. So I'm trying to kind of think about, all right, what do I might want to do with like lamb or ham or, a casserole, even though I never make casseroles, but, just things that might be relevant to the time of year, if I can, be organized enough to do it. And also if you can pre-plan for major events and title them accordingly on your site, for events that people might search, say like, for example, Super Bowl recipes, then you're going to get yourself more traffic based on search volume as well. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Robin Lindar is joining us here on the show from grillgirl.com. All right, Robin, so you were down last year at Memphis in May. Your dad is one of my favorite fans ever on the face of the earth. Shout out to Eddie. And I can't believe I just said shout out. I said I would never say that, but I can make the exception for Eddie.
Shout out's a good word. There's nothing to even replace shout out.
It's so overused. It's one of the worst words ever. I hate that term, and I just fell victim to myself. So I'll give myself lashings for that after the show and when the camera's off. Also, you're going to be with Chris Grove from Nibble Me This, who writes a fantastic blog, and we'll have him on next month as a guest as well. But, you seem to become very fascinated with Memphis in May. You're going to be taking place. Is it just going to be in People's Choice? Are you actually going to go all in and compete in the Memphis in May traditional competition as well?
Well, I don't know how much I've explained this to you, but my dad and we met up with Neil, who's kind of like the Pitmaster.
Pitmaster's fine.
That's a good word for that term. Of Two Sauce to Pork. We met up through my blog because I had actually talked about how it was, one of my dad's like lifelong dreams to go to Memphis in May. And so we really just joined the first year as kind of just hanging out and learning about the process. And then last year, my dad and I entered ancillary categories. He did mustard sauce and I did the coleslaw. And this year we're really taking a bigger part by doing the People's Choice. I mean, we'll be around and hanging out for ribs and the other stuff, but at the end of the day, that's kind of Neil's. Everybody kind of has their category that they do, but it's still a team effort. And at the end of it, I'm still blogging and recording as much of it as I can, so I can just really kind of share the experience with other people. And for myself, I'm trying to learn. But I think this year for us will be a lot more serious because in years past, like even though I did coleslaw last year, I mean, let's face it, I did a lot of networking and partying too. So this category is really going to, I'm going to have to be more disciplined because it's a 2-day turn-in and we're going to have to cook overnight and we're going to be, setting a schedule for ourselves and really preparing because we want to kick ass and represent well for our team.
Wow.
So.
Sounds like zero fun when you put it like that. Oh my goodness. Well, do you ever fancy yourself, or do you ever see yourself maybe in a year from now or 3 years from now actually taking part in the actual competition that, you would eventually be called like grand champion of pork or ribs or whole hog or anything like that?
Well, our team does ribs. And I mean, if we walk the stage, we would all walk the stage together because we're a team. So, and I think we have a pretty good chance, to tell you the truth. We did pretty well last year. And since I've been on the team, this will be my third year, they seem to be doing better and better every year. And they've always done well, as, they're a younger team. So I think there's a lot of potential to really kick some ass this year. And I have to give a shout out to my team members because they're really all really cool guys, and they let me join the team, and they're very much all about like supporting team karma and letting other like newbies, kind of get a feel for the experience, because Memphis in May can also be very cliquish, if you will, because it takes pardon my French, shit ton of money to compete in Memphis in May, and you really need to have a lot of sponsorships, and they've been very open about letting new people join, which I think is very cool and very representative of how awesome the barbecue community at large can be.
I don't know if it's possible, but could you possibly quantify a shit ton of money? Sound like 6 zeros, 7 zeros?
Well, I think that an entrance fee, and I'm not totally sure about this, is at least at a starting point of $4,000. And if you see some of the teams there, I mean, with the huge scaffolding, structures they build and everything, I bet that easily people spend for some of the bigger tents there, like 30 to 60 grand. Wow. I mean, when you see teams that are sponsored by companies like FedEx, you've got to wonder, like, wow, this is serious business, So,
yeah, that's some huge money. I mean, it looked like Two Sauce to Pork is in the chat room, said that they spent $11,000 last year. I mean, that is some huge money. There's a lot of KCBS competitions that don't even pay out half that during the course of a weekend. So I can't imagine dropping $11,000 and then walking away without any money to recoup that expense. That's got to hurt.
Exactly. And because of the cost, it also really kind of, I would say, makes it very hard to compete. Not everyone's, even if they're a really awesome barbecue person or competitor, I mean, that's a pretty hefty price tag. So I think that Two Sauce to Pork has the model that's working for them and probably could be copied by other teams, because they've been successful and they've let new people, from other regional barbecue teams join in. Like, even though they're a Memphis-based team, they've had people from New England barbecue associations come in. I mean, my dad represents South Carolina Barbecue Association. I represent the FBA. So it's very diverse, which I think is super cool.
Absolutely, Robin.
And one thing I have to mention, too, is that we are trying out the Grilla pellet smoker this year. They're kind of testing out competition barbecue on us, which I think is neat, because I've never used one before. And I keep hearing, really good things about pellet smokers, so I think it'll be cool to see it in action.
Well, I mean,
see how it does on the circuit.
I have had one probably for the last 4.5 months. I've actually kind of had to come out of the closet, because I was one of those guys that thought pellet cookers were kind of cheating, especially for the backyard person. And after I realized that I was immediately in love with the cooker, I had to come clean the next show. And look, I mean, who doesn't like having a lot of space? It's a very unique shaped item. It's got the sliding hood instead of the lift-up hood. It's got a nice 20-pound hopper. It's got the thermostatic. I mean, you plug it in, you turn it on, you put the foil over the deflector shield, and then you go ahead and get your stuff prepped and ready to go on there while it's getting up the temperature. I mean, the thing couldn't be any easier to work. And it gets a lot of airtime here, not because they've never asked me to talk about it once. They just want me to give them feedback. But I like talking about it because I'm so happy with the product. Have you actually been around it at all and used it?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
so I'm
you're
excited.
Gonna love it. I mean,
and, my dad has a Traeger, but I've been a little bit skeptical, I have to say, because I don't know. I love my egg and I love my Weber, and I'm kind of hardcore about my 2 grills. So
for as easy as the Big Green Egg is to fire up and keep a temperature, this one is 5,000 times easier. So, we like to play with fire, and we like to see fire happen and all that. And you still get to see all that with the Grilla, because on the front, a little windshield, you can see when the fire pot stokes up, and you have the Grilla logo with fire coming behind it, so you still satisfy the pyromania within you. But it does take a lot of error away, and it imparts a nice smoke flavor. So I'm a big fan of it. What can I say? I mean, it's $1,500. and that includes the shipping wherever you are in the 48 states. So it's not completely out of range when you're talking about price. And again, to me, it's unique. It doesn't look like anything else out there. And I think, you probably figured out by now, standing out is something that I don't mind doing or breaking out of the box. I don't like to live in the four squares. So this kind of seems to fit my personality as well. I think you're going to love it.
I like that about you too, Greg. I think that's, and being a girl, and this sounds totally vain, but, sometimes I'll look at a grill and I'll think, now, how would that look on my patio? And that's just like a patio bling type thing for me. I mean,
It happens.
At the end of the day, I have to stare at it when I walk outside. I want it to match and look good. So I'm not going to lie that the way they look, that's part of my opinion as well, because it is what it is.
And, it is kind of a conversational piece, as I think you'll get to know, too, because I'm sure you have a lot of people asking you about it when you're down there. We're talking with Robin Lindars, the Grill Girl. Again, you can find her at grillgirl.com. Girl is GRRRL.com, so make sure you spell it right, or you can just link through the post-show notes here. Robin, always appreciate the time. We'll look for you again next month.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And just as a quick shout out, I am looking for contributors for Grill Girls. So if you have a recipe you want to share, I always need really good content and a decent photo, because it's hard to pull a bunch of awesome recipes out all the time. So, and I know you guys are all really good cooks. So if you want to share something and be published, shoot me an email, robin.medlin@gmail.com. And y'all have an awesome night.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Robin. There she is. Robin Lindars joining us here on the show. Again, grillgirl.com with 3 R's in the middle there, GRRRL.com. All right, a little over there, but when I can talk about the Grilla Cooker, I will talk about the Grilla Cooker every time I can. What can I say? Fell in love with a pellet cooker. Sorry, I didn't want it to happen. Getting a public service message for all the barbecue brothers and sisters that are listening right now. Steve DeFranco from Stephen DeFranco Jewelers is a barbecue junkie. Being married to a barbecue maniac can be trying for these ladies and men. Think about all the nonsense a barbecue wife or husband has to put up with. Let me give you a few examples. You're always making a huge mess in the kitchen. All you think about is barbecue. You're watching on the TV. You have these books and the websites. You watch a Tuesday night internet radio show, for crying out loud, that thinks it's a television show. You leave sticky barbecue sauce on the cabinet doors, in the silverware drawer, on the kitchen table, on chairs, on the car, on the dog. To you, your clothes smell great when they're covered with this barbecue smoke. To your significant other, they stink. How many years has she been putting up with this? The shelves full of jars of barbecue sauce, some open, some half open. Spice cabinet full of jars and rubs and all that great stuff. You don't even remember you even have it, for crying out loud. When was the last time you bought her a nice piece of jewelry? Call Steve at Stephen DeFranco Jewelers and he can help. Heck, he has to get himself out of trouble with his wife because of his own barbecue addiction, so he knows exactly where you're coming from. Now, whether you participate in competition barbecue or just barbecue for fun, taking care of your wife by showing her how much you love her with a beautiful diamond anniversary ring from Stephen DeFranco Jewelers is just the ticket for her, allowing you to continue to mess up the kitchen with all your barbecue insanity. Now, you're probably thinking that treating her to a new anniversary ring will break the bank and ruin plans for a new grill or smoker. Poppycock. The diamond anniversary... Did I just say poppycock? The diamond anniversary rings at Stephen DeFranco Jewelers started under $500. Not only does Steve stock great quality, but if you go to StephenDeFranco.com, you can see lots of great styles and really great prices as well. And as always, Steve has a very special barbecue brother and sister deal just for you. Here's how it works. You go on to StephenDeFranco.com. You pick out a new diamond anniversary ring, and then you call Steve at this number, 440-943-2700. That's 440-943-2700. And you tell me you're a barbecue brother or a sister, and it'll give you an additional $50 off the already discounted price to help you pay for taking your wonderful wife out to a non-barbecue dinner. As always, Steve ships the ring out to you for free, so you don't have to worry about that either. StephenDeFranco.com, the website, and then call Steve and ask for him directly. 440-943-2700. Stephen DeFranco Jewelers, located in beautiful Willoughby, Ohio. We're coming back to wrap the first hour here. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs. And the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Who would have thought this music?
We're coming up on 3 minutes till the top of the hour. And this is going to be quick, so I apologize. Survey Tuesday questions: are ceramic cookers overrated? Is the Sam's Club National Tour good or bad for barbecue? Hot and fast or low and slow? Go ahead and fire it up there on the chat room so I can check it out. Rob, and I apologize. I didn't ask you the Survey Tuesday question, so go ahead and weigh in if you would like to as well. 877-448-0433, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. I'll go ahead and take the Survey Tuesday. Are ceramic cookers overrated? Absolutely not. Absolutely 100% not overrated. Potentially overpriced. I wish Big Steel Keg was still in business or didn't change hands 10 times over the last 2 or 3 years, because that would have been great. That was a less expensive option that still gave you all of the benefits of a ceramic-style cooker, but it wasn't made out of the ceramics. It was dual-wall steel, and it had a bunch of commercial-grade insulation in between the two walls, and it was absolutely fabulous. Same idea, standing up. You had the vent on the bottom. You had the chimney on the top. But if we're looking at Primos and Grill Domes and Big Green Eggs, are they overrated? No. And I almost could make an argument on why they are not overpriced as well, because to me, and I've said it before on a number of different podcasts, ceramic cookers are 2-in-1. You're going to get a unit that is able to hold the low and slow cooking temperatures, which you might not be able to get with any other type of cooker. It might not be able to ramp up and get to the higher grilling temperatures. And it does allow you to go wide open on top and bottom and get up to 750, 800 degrees. So you're able to do both. That's why I call it the hybrid cooker. You're able to do low and slow as long as you want to. You're able to do hot and fast as much as you want to. And it does equally very well. And on top of all of that, there are fuel misers. The amount of charcoal that you need to use to keep one up and running for hours and hours on end is completely... Whoa. I wasn't paying attention to time there. I apologize. Come on. Let me get back there. Is it nearly the amount that it would normally take? So check that out. Don't know anything about the new Char Griller Kamado Don, but I'll keep an eye out on that. All right, let's go ahead and get ready for the second hour. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks.
Why don't people understand my intention?
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan. So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shake a face.
I'm shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
All right, just like that, we are into the second hour. 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Those are the two ways to get in touch with the show. Quick recap. Last hour, we had Jeff Brown from Wildcatters Q Crew. We talked about their winning of the Midwest City, Oklahoma event for Sam's Club. They'll be moving on to the regional round. So if you'd like to weigh in on that, you're more than welcome to do that. We also talked with Robin Lindars, gave us a little insight onto the webisodes that she's making in conjunction with ThermoWorks, which makes the best thermometer ever on the face of the earth, the ThermoPen. She's also giving away an immersion blender if you leave your favorite marinade, so you want to race over there, grillgrill.com, and grill is grrrl.com, grillgrill.com. I'll link that up, Robin, so people can get their hand at winning an immersion blender. And we were going over some Survey Tuesday questions, which are as follows. Are ceramic cookers overrated? I maintain they are not overrated. Potentially not even overpriced because it's two cookers in one, low and slow, and the ability to do high temperature cooks as well. Question number 2, is the Sam's Club National Tour good or bad for barbecue? And I have gotten information from people contesting that Sam's Club is not good. And I actually emailed Mike McLeod here just a little bit ago, and here's a reply that I got back from him. Asked him if he had ever heard about it, because I never heard anybody talk about it last year at all. And this year I'm getting more and more email about dissension amongst the Sam's Club likers, the appreciators. And here's what Mike had to talk about. Yes, they've heard it even on day one, event organizers facing lots of pressure, which is the root of the discontent. One, they are experienced lack of sponsorship support, which is industry-wide, not only in barbecue. Number 2, they really aren't marketers/sales folks, which means they don't really know how to sell brands on active sponsorships in the first place. 3, they believe KCBS owes them exclusive rights in a territory, which is increasingly hard to do because of the density of contest requests and available weekends, even though the board tries to accommodate as much as possible. Number 4, they see Sam's as a big corporate evil company that is trying to take over. Mike's bottom line, Sam's is in 30 markets. It's a tiered playoff system. Contest organizers have to find a way to make their contest more compelling, bigger prize purse, different angles, more marketing, etc., in order to get those ones that are suffering now from a competing Sam's event to get them back over the top. And Mike said that he would be happy to come on and talk about it at a later date, so we'll see if that is something that would be worthwhile. But like I said, I never heard anybody complaining about it at all last year when Sam's Club was out. And now this year, a little bit more discontent, let's say. Hot and fast or low and slow. After my hot and fast pork butt last weekend, I got to say, at least on the bigger cuts, hot and fast. On the ribs, low and slow. That's me. Like to hear what you have to say. Ceramic cookers overrated, Sam's Club National Tour good or bad, and hot and fast or low and slow. What do you know about pink slime? Oh my Lord, pink slime, I said it. This little monster is making its way around news channels and up and down blogs. And here's what I found pretty cool. And by cool, I mean gross and cool at the same time. Recently asked why they agreed to feed pink slime to our children. School lunch officials said it was to drop the price of ground beef by 3 cents a pound. This disturbing admission should come as no surprise, however, for anyone familiar with the meat industry's notion or notorious willingness to cut costs at the expense of consumers' health. In a study titled Fast Food Hamburgers, What Are They Really Eating?, pathologists at the Cleveland Clinic dissected burgers from 8 different fast food chains to find out what or wasn't inside. Published in the Annals of Diagnostic Pathology, the paper begins with, most consumers presume that the hamburger they eat is composed primarily of meat. But what did they find? Similar to a previous dissection they had performed on hot dogs, the researchers discovered waste and byproducts, including connective tissue, nerve tissue, cartilage, bone, and in a quarter of samples, sarcastic parasites. But surely these fillers were in the minority, right? Unfortunately not. After crunching the numbers, the researchers found that the amount of actual meat, which is muscle flesh in the burgers, ranged from 2.1 to 14.8%. Instead of fries, perhaps most food cashiers should be asking you, do you want meat with that? In addition to reducing quality, cutting corners also tends to reduce safety, which is why the pink slime in question is injected with ammonia hydroxide to kill the Salmonella and E. coli, which is also called fecal matter, that is often contaminated with. Instead of addressing the contamination issue itself, the meat industry employs a cheap techno fix to turn which was once considered waste into slimy profits. Hate slimy profits. So what do the meat pushers do when cheap chemicals won't do the trick and their products leave the processing plant contaminated with poop? Do they shut down the plant? Order a recall? No, they shift responsibility on the consumer. Raw meats are not idiot-proof, a USDA poultry microbiologist said. They can be mishandled, and when they are, it's like handling a hand grenade. No, it's not, actually. If you pull the pin, somebody's going to get hurt. In other words, if you get sick from contaminated meat, it's your fault. But just how often is meat contaminated? This month, the CDC released their latest national meat survey in response to this question and tested more than 5,000 samples of retail meat products straight off the shelves in California, Colorado, Connecticut, Georgia, Maryland, Minnesota, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Tennessee, and Pennsylvania. What they found could hardly have been more disturbing. 90% of pork chops, ground beef, ground turkey, and 95% of chicken breasts were all contaminated with poop. With poop. No wonder an Alabama poultry science professor was quoted in the meat industry journal saying it's too expensive not to sell salmonella-positive chicken. Of course, not everyone agrees with the notion that the public should willingly assume these risks. Dr. Patricia Griffin, director of Foodborne Disease Division, the CDC, responded by asking, is it reasonable that if consumers undercooks a hamburger, that their 3-year-old child dies? Which brings us back to the real question, what's more important, corporate profits or the safety and health of our loved ones? Using pink slime as a springboard, let's make our answer very clear. I don't want poop on my burger. I don't want poop on my burger. This was from Michael Greger, MD, from the Huffington Post. You can find that there at the Huffington Post if you want to. Let me show you this. Let me go to my thing. When was the last time you were hiking or you were at a sporting event and all of this other stuff and you were like, you know what, man? It would really be awesome. Let me see here. Okay, he's ready to go. It would really be awesome if I had a can of food that I could just heat up here, right here at the sporting event, and it all did it by itself. Gang, guess what? You're not going to believe your eyes. Here it is. Hot can. Yeah, hot can. This is a can, spicy beef pasta, bangers and beans. Chefs hate them. And here's what happens about how it works. Let me get to that real quick so you can see it. So you have this inner can. That's funny when I say inner can. So you have this inner can right here. And then you have, as you can see, surrounding the can, you have limestone. And then you have a spike, and there's 3 different places on the top where you drive the spike. Right here at the top is water, a water jacket. And when you pierce the water jacket, the water goes down onto the limestone, and it creates a natural chemical reaction. And this heats the can to 60 to 70 degrees centigrade, which I have no idea what that would be in Fahrenheit. But you pop the top off the can, you put that little plastic lid that you see here on the top underneath, and voila, you have a hot meal right in the can. And you can't buy it here in America. As you can see, it's England-based. But let's take a quick look and see what kind of a menu we have here. So this would be great if you're camping. I mean, I'm not a camper by any stretch of the imagination. But you got the bangers and beans, the beans with balls, cheese, tomato ravioli. I mean, look at all this great stuff. And it can be done right from the can. If you want to look at it a little bit more in-depth, hotcan.com. I have reached out to them to see if they would be willing to do some type of a test during the show. Have not heard back, but we'll keep you updated. Look, gang, as many of you know, I've gotten my grimy little mitts on a pellet cooker. Robin and I were just talking about that just a second ago. Next thing I did when I got one was called Barbecuer's Delight. Why? Because they are widely considered to be the pellet resource for pellet-fired cookers. That's right. Whether on the competition trail or in your backyard, folks choose Barbecuer's Delight wood pellets more than any other brand. for their superior quality and flavor, and you should give them a try as well. And you can find them at bbqrsdelight.com. Now, maybe you don't have a pellet cooker. No problem. You can still take advantage of the pellet revolution on your gas or charcoal grill or smoker by grabbing the cast iron pot option. You buy yourself a nice sampler packet of pellets. You load in about 1/3 cup of those pellets into a pot, and then you place it into your cooker or grill, and you let that sweet, succulent smoke take care of the rest. Now, perhaps you're not familiar with pellets. Let me give you a little insight here. When pellets are made, all the air within the cellular structure of the wood is evacuated, thus concentrating the wood into a very dense form, much denser than any natural tree. As compared to other wood flavor enhancers, pellets will yield a more intense smoke more quickly, which seals the food, locking in natural moisture, adding smoke flavor exactly when it's needed. And since pellets have been processed from sawdust by pressure, which generates heat, any contaminants present in the wood are eliminated. The process produces a sterile, smoking wood product of consistent quality. And pellets are easy to use since you don't soak them in water prior to use. It's easy to blend wood flavors, produce consistent results each and every time with the use of Barbecuers Delight wood pellets. Now, here's a little food for thought. When you're buying the little 1-pound bags, that's 100% flavor wood. But if you have a pellet cooker like me, it's a little different. Candy and the folks at the Barbecuers Delight have determined that a blend of 2/3 oak and 1/3 fruit wood is the optimum way to go. It gives you great BTU temperatures for consistent burn, but still great smokewood flavor that you're looking for. So do yourself a favor. Grab some Barbecuers Delight wood pellets right now. You visit them at bbqrsdelight.com. Check out all the flavors that they have and stop fussing with the sticks and the chunks. Barbecuers Delight, the choice of competition cooks and backyard warriors like this guy alike. We agree on it. Barbecuers Delight, bbqrsdelight.com. When we come back, we will have Conrad Haskins on the line. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, coming back on 14 past the hour, 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com are the two ways to get in touch with the show. Joining me now, an award-winning barbecue pitmaster, a teacher of all things barbecue and grilling, someone who has seen not only whole hogs cooked, but whole cows hooked. Head cook for Teddy Bear's competition team, sponsor of the show, Conrad Haskins joins us here. Conrad, welcome back. How are you, buddy?
Good, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous, Conrad. Always appreciate you making time for the show. I mentioned it right there at the top. A lot of people see whole hog cooks, but you are like one of the few that's actually seen is it whole cow or whole steer, or how do you actually term that properly?
Whole steers and, whole steers.
So I remember we talked about the very first time I ever had you on the show. And to see a 200-pound pig on a spit probably isn't as majestical or perhaps downright frightening as it would see to have like a ton, a steer that weighs a ton on a spit. I mean, how does that work out exactly?
It takes a whole lot longer to do it, and it takes a whole lot of labor because I don't do my whole hogs on a spit, but the whole steers were done on a spit. So those were, just turning them constantly for like 24 hours, tending the fire, basting them. It's a whole lot of work.
Oh, I can't imagine. And is the barbecue that comes off of that even better than normal? Is it like steak or pulled beef, or how does it come out? Like beef ribs and stuff?
It's completely different. It is sliced. It's not pulled, but the whole hog, when you do a whole hog, the pulled pork that comes off of it has a special flavor which you just can't get from pork shoulder. And it's the same way with beef. When you've cooked the whole animal like that for so long and with so much care and love, the flavor just has something magical about it.
Conrad Haskins joining us here on the show. Conrad, if you don't mind me asking, where does Teddy Bear come from exactly?
Teddy Bear's my nickname, has been since I was a kid.
All right, so something that has stuck right with you. You run the Barbecue Institute, a wide array of classes for folks to choose from out there. When did you decide that this was going to be the way you were going to be making your living at the Barbecue Institute?
Well, I decided to start teaching in 2004 and had a lot of fun with it. and then got divorced. And when I got divorced, the ex-wife got the restaurant and I got the barbecue school, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. And I couldn't be more happy just teaching all the time.
You didn't want to stay in the restaurant business anymore?
The best analogy I've heard of the restaurant business is it's owning a herd of dairy cows, and I completely agree with that analogy.
I guess what I find most interesting about Barbecue Institute and the classes, you look at some price points at some of the other folks who are giving competition cooking classes, Conrad. What kind of crosses your mind? Are some of these guys in it for cash grab? Is it publicity? Are they doing it for the right reasons? Because I guess if we're being honest with each other, on the whole, your classes probably aren't nearly as expensive as some of these other guys, and your elite list of students almost reads like a who's who of who's gone through your program.
Well, I have been very fortunate. I mean, I've been doing this since 2004, so, a lot of people when they started out, like Harry Sue and those kind of folks, took my class, and they've gone on to great success. I decided very early on I wasn't going to focus on being a competition school. I was going to focus on helping people cook better barbecue. And that does help you win contests, but it's not my main goal. My main goal is to help the backyarder and the restaurateur cook better barbecue. I can't talk to all these programs. The only competition class that I've been through is Rod Gray's, and I know that he's not holding anything back. And the proof of that is, look at all his students that have beat him, including me. 2 weeks after I took his class, I took first place chicken with him cooking right next to me.
Proof positive, I would say. Class well worth its money. Absolutely. Conrad Haskins joining us here on the show. He runs Barbecue Institute, which you can find at bbqinstitute.com. All right, so let's go ahead. School is in session. Get your teacher's cap on there, Teddy Bear. Everyone else, grab your pen and paper. So let's go ahead. We'll talk about some common mistakes that you're seeing as far as cooks making right now, firing up the grills and cookers. What are you seeing out there that are common mistakes?
Well, the common mistakes are, always too much rub, too much smoke, too much heat, and what I call getting too cute. People are trying to do too much. Some of the best briskets I've ever cooked in my life, the only ingredients involved was a brisket, high-quality salt, and high-quality pepper, and nothing else. And, if you've got good technique, you can turn out some of the most amazing brisket you've ever tasted in your life just with those three ingredients.
I mean, so how hard is it for you as someone who is a teacher, and when I've talked to the Pitmasters, and it almost kind of ties back to that whole competition class and, are they given for the right reasons? People have always told me, look, I can sit here and I'll tell you exactly what I use and how much I'm using. But there seems to be one kind of important part, how the hell you actually cook it. And if you don't know how to do it right and produce good chicken and pork ribs and pork shoulder and brisket, it doesn't matter if you have all the flavor profiles if you can't cook it right. So how does one go about getting the tools and arming themselves with the information on cooking the meat right first, and then we can kind of move on to the flavor profile here second?
I think that's a great question. Basically, I can give people the knowledge how to cook it, but they need experience. And what I'm seeing massively out there is people want an autopilot. Well, the thing is, when the autopilot doesn't work, you still need to fly the plane. So you need the pilot, and you need the piloting skills on how to fly the plane when the autopilot isn't working. So it's not a cupcake recipe, which is one of my favorite sayings. And you know how to need to run your pit without a computer running it. You need to know what to do when things go wrong. And I think those are the two big things: experience, knowing how to run your pit without a computer running it. That really gives you the confidence to succeed. Whereas, somebody who's following exactly the recipe that Rod Gray gave them, and they've got a computer running their pit, on a good day, they might very well take first place. But what separates the men from the boys is when things go wrong, do you have the experience to still be able to succeed when your computer broke, it was blowing sideways, it was the middle of a blizzard, you were trying to cook at 9,000 feet at 20 degrees Fahrenheit? That's where really experience, which I can't teach, comes into play. And too many people now want this cupcake recipe, and it's not a cupcake recipe. It's experience and skill and knowledge based on a solid foundation, which really is what's going to make you a pitmaster versus a computer operator.
Conrad Haskins joining us here on the show, talking a little bit about how to get that meat prepared correctly. So, after you've put in the time, you learn the pit, you're able to, I don't want to say master. Do you think you can ever reach, are you ever mastering the art of cooking it, or is it something that you're always evolving and you're always learning?
Well, my expression long before I ever got into barbecue was, if you stop learning, you start dying. And I've talked to people in barbecue, outside of barbecue. If you're not learning from what's going on, even if you're a master in your field and you've been there for 40, 50 years, you've got an attitude problem, because there is always something to learn. Jim Minion told me when I started, and I started quickly, 16 weeks from my first contest to qualifying for the Jack Daniel's World Championship and cooking it. I was very fast out of the gate. And Jim Minion told me, you're going to get better. And I kind of shook my head and I was like, okay, yeah. Well, 10 years later, Jim Minion was right. I always look at it, and I think one of the things that separates the great pitmasters from the people who want to be great pitmasters is we're our own worst critics. How could I have done that better? Okay, that was great, but how do I make it even better than that? And when you constantly push yourself like that, that's what keeps you on top of your game.
All right, so once we have the meat where we feel comfortable, we know the cooker, we're not reliant on gurus and stokers and all this other stuff, which are great tools to have, no doubt about it. But like you said, always good to know your cooker in case of a catastrophic event. How do you go about adding the layers of flavor? As you said, too much smoke, too much rub. Is it always best to start out little and build from there, or are you catering to specific people that are coming over or not coming over? How do you build a flavor profile and do it correctly?
Wow, there's a multi-part answer to that. Step A is you have to have been blessed by God with a good palate. Some people, I've spoken to people that says all restaurant barbecue is good, and I've got 1,000 people, myself included, who are going to say, no, not all restaurant barbecue is good. There's good and there's bad. I think, A, you need to have been blessed with a good palate. B, I think keep it simple, stupid. People try to make it way too complicated. I get a lot of people asking me, well, how do you handle national variations, regional variations within a nation? And basically, I don't vary my flavor profile at all, whether I'm cooking on the West Coast, East Coast, Texas, North Central, whatever. What I do is I dial up my sweetness and I dial down my sweetness. Because there's folks out there who don't do anything, but they cook massively, like 30 contests a year, which is way more than I'll ever cook. And when you're cooking that many contests, you can actually, just on the numbers game, stick to an exact flavor profile, and on the numbers game, if it's good, you're going to win. What I do is, like when I went to New York and took Reserve Grand Champion and beat IQ, I was like, this is New York. Sweet's not going to work, so I massively dialed it down. And talking to judges afterwards, they were all complaining about how much candy they'd eaten. So, doing well there was because I dialed back the sweetness. But I don't change my flavor profile. I think I've got a good flavor profile. It works from coast to coast. So I'm just going to take up my best guess at, do these guys want sweet or savory, and how much sugar and honey I add, and just adjust that and leave the basic flavor profile alone.
Conrad Haskins joining us here on the show from the Barbecue Institute. You can find him at bbqinstitute.com. Also, the pitmaster of Teddy Bear's competition team. You can find that at bbqhog.com. Conrad, one of the best things about barbecue today is the ease of access to good information. One of the worst things about barbecue today, the ease of access to crappy information. Now, can you list out some of the most common internet falsehoods that are proliferating the internet right now?
We don't have long enough to do it, but some of the basic things are you have to cook your brisket fat side up. You have to spray. Oiling meat is a good idea. And it just goes on and on and on. I get so many calls from students and people who are like, I've read the internet for 3 days on how to cook ribs, and I'm now more confused than when I started reading the internet. Because what happens is, every right answer is out there. Everything I do, everything Rod Gray does, everything Harry Sue does is out there. But it's like panning for gold. You've got these little flecks of gold surrounded by vast amounts of dirt. And you have to separate the gold from the dirt. And it's not like panning for gold, because with panning for gold, you've got the shiny parts and the dirt. And here you've just got this vast stream of information, and it's what do you do? And people just, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to try that, and I'm going to try that, and I'm going to try that. And it doesn't work. Stick to the basics and build on that, and don't try to make it too complicated. And I think the biggest single thing I have with my students is that they think that, well, I'm just going to go to the grocery store. You know, the question is, well, how do I go to the grocery store and get a good brisket? You don't. Unfortunately, brisket these days is what's the cheapest feeder cattle, what's the cheapest cereal, you know, how do we make a profit and sell it to Walmart so they can sell it for 99 cents a pound? And you just can't get a good brisket doing that. If you don't start with good ingredients, you're not going to have a good end product. And I see so many threads, and it hasn't changed in 10 years, of, well, I had a problem cooking brisket, and all these answers flood in with all these advanced techniques, and nobody says, okay, but what did you start with? Was it good meat or wasn't it? Because if you didn't start with good meat, all those advanced techniques are just worthless.
All right, so let me ask you about this, and I'm glad you brought up the beef part specifically, because I don't hear it so much with pork, but I suppose that's another argument or another conversation for another day. You know, there was a lot of hype around Wagyu beef. There was a lot of talk about people using the certified Angus beef for packers. I mean, you've competed a lot. You are doing these classes. Do you recommend Wagyu? Is that overpriced and not needed? Can you go to Sam's and do just as well? What do you think about all that? Different levels and varying of all this popular stuff being thrown around the internet these days.
You know, I did an advanced barbecue class, and we cooked a Wagyu and we cooked Cargill Sterling Silver side by side. The Wagyu, I didn't inject the Cargill Sterling Silver. I injected. We did a taste test. There was nothing in it. So, you know, I've won with Wagyu, but I really don't think it's necessary. I think if you have a really good quality piece of regular beef, you can do it. And I'm with Dave. I'm shying away from certified Angus or any of that stuff. Is the vendor you're actually buying the meat from putting out a good product? Dave has his choices. I choose to use Cargill Sterling Silver. And there's other good brands out there, but I think you need to go with a good brand and have faith in that brand and go with that, because and as far as Sam's goes, I've won with Sam's, but I've also seen their quality decline. And right now, the only good brisket I'm seeing coming out of Sam's is their choice flats, because on their packers, they've gone to select from choice, and there's a big difference in flavor. And I can't recommend the packers coming out of Sam's anymore, unfortunately.
Conrad Haskins joining us here on the show. Conrad, what kind of a competition schedule, if any, are you going to have this year?
I'm doing a few contests. I'm cooking Sam's. I'm cooking a contest in the Pacific Northwest. And, you know, I'll pick up a few more as the year progresses, but it's a fairly light schedule for me. I cooked one early this year and took first place in brisket. So, but I still enjoy competing.
You know, you mentioned that you were going to try a Sam's Club. I asked Jeff Brown this a little bit earlier, as far as is Sam's Club kind of a monster in the fact that it is taken away from some competing events or some events that have been well established for years prior to Sam's showing up, and now they're taking teams away. Other events are suffering. Do you see this as a corporate evil kind of invading into a territory that had already been established? Or do you see it kind of like Mike McLeod said from MMA, where, you know, some of these guys, they're just not marketers. They don't realize how to get out there and get sponsorship money and be proactive with it?
Well, I agree, because I've seen this in my own experience with a small barbecue association, that it's not run by business people and they don't know how to market it. A barbecue contest has to appeal to the public. Sam's isn't putting money into it because of the competitors. They're putting money into it because of the spectators, and that's who I think you really have to cater to. And I just think that it's all about the spectators. And, the only constant we have in this world is change, and things are going to change. And people hate it when they change, but that's what's going to happen. And if they're bringing money to it, more power to them.
All right, let me ask you about this, too, before I cut you loose, Conrad. Pitmaster Season 3, I always like to give people's ideas and takes on this. It's coming back. We don't know for sure what kind of a format we're going to see. Season 1, as we look back now, widely considered to be the gold standard of what competition barbecue was like and wants to be seen on television. Season 2, the complete antithesis of that. Everybody seemed to not like it to a large degree, format-wise. So who knows what Season 3 is going to bring. John Marcus won't reveal anything and tip cards. Are you excited to see what it brings? Do you think that the idea of barbecue pitmasters should just kind of go away and we'll be done with it?
I'm excited to see it. And, what you have to remember is with all food TV, it's all about what are the viewers wanting. And more than 50% of the people who watch cooking on TV don't cook at all. Prego and boiled pasta is their idea of cooking. So it isn't done for us competition cooks. It's done for the ratings. And I think he's doing a great job for the ratings, which is what it's all about. And the more barbecue on TV, the better for everybody.
All right, let's do the Survey Tuesday questions, if you don't mind here real quick, Conrad. Are ceramic cookers overrated?
Yes.
Yes? They're overrated? Overpriced or overrated?
Overrated. I mean, they are awesome for doing steaks and pizza and being very fuel efficient in all weather conditions. But the WSM is still king of the hill for value for money.
All right, question number 2, and we kind of already answered this. Is the Sam's Club National Tour good or bad for barbecue as the sport?
Good.
All right, I agree. And question number 3, very controversial, so I ask you to give me your full honest opinion. Hot and fast or low and slow?
Neither. Middle of the road.
Middle of the road? That wasn't even an option. What are you talking? You don't subscribe to one or the other?
No, I subscribe to middle of the road. That's how I cook.
All right, so give me middle of the road temperature so we know what kind of ballpark you're in.
I'm talking 250 to 300 is where I want my pit to be.
All right, so a little more than one, a little less than the other. Conrad Haskins runs the Barbecue Institute. He's the pitmaster for Teddy Bear's competition team. Conrad, always appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You got it. There he is, Conrad Haskins. Again, Barbecue Institute, if you want to check him out. And I guess what I like best is the fact that the classes that he gives are geared, I guess, more towards somebody like me. So that's fun and good, especially if you're looking to save a little money. I mean, not everybody's a competition cook. Maybe people didn't know that. Dave Bosca is on deck, so stay tuned for that. Let me talk to you for a quick minute about the longest-running sponsor of the show, located in Warminster, Pennsylvania. That's right, it is the Barbecue Guru. Now, gang, let me tell you a few things here about the Barbecue Guru. If you've been thinking about getting an automatic pit temperature control device for your cooker, then you want to stop here. These are the people that invented the technology. Why would you want to buy one from any other company in the whole world? I have no idea. Are you not familiar with how these little beauties work? I'm not going to get into the minute details, but imagine a product that allows you to set your pit temperature. And once set, it keeps it running at the set temperature all the way through the cook. Sound too good to be true? It's not. This is real life, and you can take advantage of this technology today. Now, maybe you're a busy working professional, or perhaps you are constantly on the run with the kids, doing errands, and quite frankly, you just don't have time to sit around and play pit mind temperature person. The Barbecue Guru allows you to throw on a pork butt or a brisket or a couple slabs of ribs, and then you're off to do whatever it is you need to get done, and the Barbecue Guru maintains the pit temp you set it at. There are currently 4 different models to choose from, so you know there's one that will fit the budget. You have the ProCom 4 wireless unit that will allow you to roam up to 600 feet away from your cooker. You can still make temperature adjustments from there if you want to. You also have the Cyber Q2, the DigiQ2 DX, and the newest unit, the Party Q. And at $129 for most cookers, the Party Q, the easiest point of entry into a pit temperature control device. It's a self-contained package that runs on AA batteries. Now, maybe you're in the market for a cooker. You want to look no further than the Onyx oven. The Onyx has been winning on the competition circuit as well as in the backyards all over the country, and it's a fully insulated unit. It holds a lot of meat. It accommodates half and whole pans for food service, and it works seamlessly with any of the Barbecue Guru pit temperature control devices. Do yourself a favor. Visit the longest-running sponsor of the show, thebbqguru.com. Check out their products. If you have any questions about what to order, call them directly, 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. They will make sure you're outfitted with exactly what you need to get you up and running right out of the box. 800-288-GURU. Or visit thebbqguru.com, the Barbecue Guru, a breakthrough in barbecue technology. All right, we're going to step away. We'll come back with Dave Bosca, and he's going to help me close out the show. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, almost 38 minutes past the hour. That would make it 22 minutes till the top. 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com's email address. Thanks again to Conrad Haskins for joining me last segment. Talking about the Barbecue Institute and some of the common mistakes that people make. But helping me close the show tonight is a Centralite favorite. In 2011, his team finished third overall in the KCBS Team of the Year standings. Like Wildcatters, he will also be moving on to the Sam's Club National Regional Final in St. Charles, Missouri in September. Sponsor of the show, Pitmaster of Butcher Barbecue. Help me welcome Dave Bosca back to the show. Dave, how are you, buddy?
Oh, we're doing good, Greg.
Good, Dave. Appreciate you making time out for the show. Before we get into the competition, Dave, you have that new Prime injection on the market that you just recently released. Can you tell me a little bit about it, and how does it differ from that very successful brisket injection that has been on the market for years and has been very successful for you?
Well, what it is, Prime injection is our beef injection and our Prime dust combined together in the exact recipe, the exact amount of what I use in competition. We've been asked for a long time to be blending it together, and we decided let's just blend it together, and we'll keep our other items. We already put together our beef injection and our Prime injection because there's a lot of folks that have their own takes on how they want to use it, how they want to apply it. But that's what the Prime injection is.
All right, Dave Bosca joining us here on the show. Dave, let's look at this past weekend. 5th overall, top 6 move on to the regionals. So technically, you're good there, but we'll get in a second. We'll dig into the meets here in a second. And maybe I'm getting a little spoiled by seeing you, like top 3 or higher at events recently. How did the weekend go for you as a whole?
We thought it was a great weekend. Just as Jeff was saying, the weather started out perfect. I got a brand new trailer. We pull it into Oklahoma. It's our first cook in Oklahoma with it. We're still trying to find where we put everything, but we cook our chicken, and I had a lot of family and a lot of friends there. We was stepping on each other there for just a little bit, but the chicken went in. It was a great looking box. It was as moist, and it was a great cook for chicken. Just didn't hit the right table for chicken, but I hope I have that same chicken this coming weekend.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, as we take a little bit closer look at the individual categories here, Dave, 21st overall. When was the last time you were 21st in chicken?
I can't remember that. I don't know.
So it's been a little while then.
Yes, sir.
Do you just chalk it up to a bad table? There was nothing, as you said, you're hoping to turn into next weekend. There was nothing that you could pinpoint to a 21st.
No. Couple 4 or 5 weeks ago, we cooked a contest up in Great Bend. I didn't have a little more time to cook, so we had 60-mile-an-hour winds, and we was having some problems. So I attribute it to the chicken just not being perfect. So hey, I got the score deserved there. Here, okay, I'd like to have the same chicken again this next weekend.
All right, Dave Bosca joining us here on the show. You go to ribs, you get 8th overall, so you get a call there. Let me back it up just for 1 second. If you don't get a call right out of the gate in chicken, Dave, is that something where you're like, I wonder how the rest of the competition is going to go? You're not getting that momentum that you were looking to build. Does that mess with your mind at all?
No, it doesn't mess with our mind at all. It's always a good feeling. And this chicken this last weekend, I was waiting to get to the top 2 or 3 with it. It was, and I'm as brutally honest with myself as I am with anybody. And you can ask me as soon as we're done with turning in, what did I think of my food? And I'll be honest with you. I like the chicken. Another category we had, but we got a call on it. So maybe there was there was a lot better chicken turned in. And so I always compete with myself and say, what can I do to make my chicken that much better if there was that much good chicken turned in ahead of me? So that's just kind of the way I go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So all right, we go to ribs. You get 8th overall there. So you get a call, kind of get you back up and rolling again. How did you feel about ribs this past weekend?
That was the one category I wasn't 100% happy with. Our ribs was as juicy as any of the ribs we've ever turned in. They were cooked really good, except they needed just a fraction more time on the cooker. I say a fraction, 15, 18, 20 minutes. That really makes a difference. Not necessarily for when we're cutting them and putting them in the box, but for 15 minutes later from when the judges, I feel like we're pretty good at ribs. We won the team of the year in ribs 2 years ago. We were 3rd last year in ribs. And so I feel like I know ribs pretty good. So after this cook, I was sitting there going, boy, I wish the ribs, they had great taste. They had, like I said, juicy, but they just needed a little bit more time for cooking. So that was my downside with ribs.
All right, we move on to pork. You get 5th overall. I'd mentioned a little bit earlier when I was talking with Jeff Brown, it seemed, some cooks have been struggling with pork a little bit this year. 5th overall out of 29 teams, definitely not something to sneeze at by any stretch of the imagination. How were you with pork over the weekend?
I liked it. It was a good pork. We had 2 really good pork butts we cooked. Process went just as scheduled. They came off just when they should be coming off. They rested. We prepped them. We put them in the box, filled the box up, turned it in. It was textbook, in my opinion.
All right, Dave Bosca joining us here on the show. And then, of course, you close out with brisket. You get 3rd overall. So 2 places better than you did with pork. Top 3 has got to be very satisfactory for you. How did you feel about the brisket? Did you think it might have been even a 2 or a 1 call?
We were hoping so. Brisket was really good. Can't complain about the brisket. We thought that the brisket was as moist. It didn't quite fit in our box. We the way that we think they should fit in the box. The boxes were handed out well after we had trimmed and prepped and spiced, and they didn't pull up any more than what I would have expected. So we had to do a little bit of modification on the cooked product, but it fit in the box. Everything went good. We do a lot of slicing. I'm just a sliced guy. I believe if you can cook a brisket right, so we was happy with our brisket.
All right. So you get 5th overall, as you're being called out. And, I'm sandbagging a question here, Dave, which I'm going to bring up here in a second. But, as you're called out, you get 5th overall. I mean, typically people are going into Sam's Club, obviously, to at least make the top 6. Everybody wants to go and win, I would imagine. Otherwise, why are you competing? But you want to get at least to that top 6 cut, so you move on to the regional rounds. Where do you fall out on the 5th overall? Is that a position that you're happy with regardless of contest? Would you like to have, or did you think that your product was better to maybe be top 3, top 2?
We had top 3 product there. I like I said, I think the ribs would have kept us out of a grand. There was a lot of good cooks there, and congratulations to them. It's one of the first cooks of the year, and everybody's bringing their A game to move on. So, hey, I did good. Congratulations to the one that did better.
All right, Dave, so let me ask you this question, and we were corresponding a little bit today and last night. The top 6 move on to regional rounds in St. Charles, Missouri, September 29th. You finished 5, so you earned the right to move on. You're not moving on, though.
Nope, we're not. We're going to go on with it.
What's going on with that? I mean, I'm sure people are falling off of their chairs. You get
I'm probably
into
one of the few. I've had several calls from. Do what, Greg?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was interrupting you. Go ahead. Hello?
Hey, can you hear me, Greg?
Yeah, I got you. We must have dropped off there. I'm sorry. I was just asking why you decided not to move on.
Well, it's a reason I've got for myself. Nothing on the contest organizers. Troy Black called me today and was asking. He wanted to find out because KCBS had called him and wanted to find out. Or when they found out that I wasn't moving on, they called me, and then I guess they called him, and he called me earlier today. And flat out, the main reason is points. They don't. The rest of the series is pointless. Pardon the pun on that, but I'm cooking for points for the rest of the year. We're going to try and make a run for the team of the year. And and as an invitational, it doesn't count for KCBS team of the year points. So I think it was pretty well shocked to them that I'm not going on, but I knew on the front side, and I told folks on the front side, and I even told the team number 7 that got the 7th place in the parking lot, be ready for the phone call because I'm not moving on.
Now, was the local event, did that count as part of KCBS points for team of the year or no?
Yes, it does.
All right. So you were just cooking this event solely to get points, and you knew right off the bat that you weren't going to be going up.
That is correct.
Now, do you get any blowback from anybody saying, look, we're going in, we want to move on, you're competing, and you don't want to move on, you're just doing it for the points? Is there any type of bad feeling, or have you been getting any type of response back by saying, well, if it's just for points, you're not doing it, I guess, for the real reasons of what Sam's Club Tour is? You win the local, or you get top 6, you get to move on to regionals, you get to move on to the finals, and that's not what you were interested in doing in the first place.
No, I don't feel that I'm getting any blowback from it, and personally, it's none of their opinion, none of their business. But what are they moving on for? Money. What am I moving on for? Points. What's the difference? I don't feel that the money is the drive for me. I like to cook, and I like to cook well. And right now, my drive is not the drive for the money. I want to win a points deal. I've got goals that I've set for myself, and that's just the way it is. One thing I want to mention and bring out is last year I didn't move on either. I didn't qualify, so I can't say I didn't move on. I'd already made that decision last year that I wasn't going on. This year I'd said the same thing. And then just so happens the weekends that was the regional and the weekends that was the championship, I had won 3 grand champions that weekends. I had a back-to-back on one, and then we had a single on another one. So that's 3 grand champions that I wouldn't have had a chance to cook at. So that being said, I feel like I'm doing it for me.
All right, so let me ask.
I didn't keep anybody else from not going on that did, because the 7th best cooking team still goes on. So it's not like it's anything major.
Correct. Dave Bosca joining us here on the show from Butcher Barbecue. ButcherBBQ.com is his website. Dave, if we step back, we take a look at Sam's as a whole here, and I know I've asked this question a couple times to a couple different pitmasters on the show tonight. I've been getting some email recently about saying, Sam's Club is overtaking some local events that have been well established, and they're taking teams away. And maybe Sam's Club, a lot of people I didn't hear any negative about it last year. A little bit more and more starting to come out of the woodwork that it's not as great as everybody wants it to be. As somebody who probably talks to a lot of pitmasters and you've been to a lot of these local competitions before, and if you see them suffering because of a Sam's Club event, is that something that's just evolution of the sport that you're in, and you're going to have that, and Sam's might be pushed out in a year or two from now, some other big event that people want to get into, and this is just part of the process of barbecue now?
No, I don't think it's a process of barbecue. I don't think it's a process of it not being barbecue. I think anything barbecue is good for the sport. That being said, I think KCBS is a little naive if they don't have the hindsight or the foresight to look out and see that Sam's is just using them to get their feet wet. They literally, other than using reps to run the regionals and the finals, why is KCBS even involved? It's nothing to do with KCBS. I love KCBS. I'm a lifetime member of KCBS. I plan on cooking them for the rest of it. But Sam's Club has the means, the money, and the knowledge to go do their own thing. I think they're testing the waters. I worked a lot of years with Sam's Clubs, and I've got a lot of friends still in the business, and they're doing this. Let's be real. Sam's is doing this that the company or the clubs get is astronomical. The residual sales after we leave the parking lot is even larger. They see such large categories increases for a week or two that more than pays for the contest. So Sam's Club can benefit by building their own contest. They're getting the know-how of how to run it. They've hired a national contest organizer who is a cook, and he's very good at it. Troy does a great job at what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And I looked at their truck that they drive around, and I don't remember how many national sponsors were on there. Not KCBS sponsors, but Sam's Club sponsors. There was 8, maybe 10 sponsors on there, and they're paying $100,000 a piece to be on this truck. So that $100,000 a piece to be on this truck. So that being said, why does Sam's need KCBS? I hope KCBS has them wrapped up good with the contract, but I don't. I'd rather doubt if they would allow that to happen.
Well, Dave, if I could play devil's advocate here for just a second, wouldn't me being KCBS say, well, Dave, it really has nothing to do with, Sam's as the business or the entity or getting their feet wet. KCBS is merely a sanctioning body. We're not here to talk about purses or anything like that. If they want to come and they want to use our rules, we provide representation, we provide the standards of rules, and that's all we're interested in.
That's true, but then let's step back again. This happened Monday to me. This is the thing that got me thinking this, and this is what got me a little bit, how can I say, wondering what's really going on. One of the things you ask is, Sam's good for the sport? Yes, is Sam's Club good? Is Sam's Club's tour good for the other contest? I don't think KCBS is treating the other contest fairly. Here recently, KCBS made a statement in the board of directors meeting and is now forcing all the contests they said they just don't have time to keep up with the grand champion winners and give them to the American Royal and the Jack. So it's up to us to do our own stuff with the organizers. But on the other hand, Monday morning, the first business day after the contest, a KCBS office lady calls me on KCBS time, phone numbers and all, and trying to get me to sign up for the next level. That was their job. But wait a minute, you can spend time to do this, but you can't keystroke a computer and send the American Royal that information. Just things to think about.
So what's your satisfaction level right now on a scale of 1 to 10?
Of what?
Just about the state of KCBS and who they're in, I don't want to say in bed with per se, but if you have such an overwhelming, and maybe it's not as overwhelming as I am under the impression of, Dave, because you certainly see these guys a lot more, but as I talk to more and more pitmasters, there really hasn't been a lot of negative necessarily. There's been a lot of positive talk about, promotion of barbecue, but from what I gather, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Sam's to pull out at some point and start their own barbecue competition sanctioning body or series for that matter that had nothing to do with KCBS altogether. That wouldn't surprise you.
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I absolutely love KCBS. I think the people that work up in that office work their hearts out. They work very hard for the cooks. Contrary to a lot of opinions, they've got the excuse me, they've got the vibe of KCBS, and they really do care. And I think 99% of the cooks care too. It's just that the ones that you hear about mostly is that 1%er. I think KCBS is strong. I think they're on the right go. I love where they're going with the barbecue. They're really promoting the sport for everything. I just wish that they would, if they would take a step back and look at what they just did. I don't think there's some of the rules that are the best. That's just my opinion. That's just outside looking in. I'm not on the inside of that. I like KCBS. Don't get me wrong. I really, really like everything they're doing. I just, gosh, that's a hard one to finish out with. But anyway, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can't ever be in a perfect situation. So there's obviously going to be ways that you can grow, but from at least from what I'm gathering, you're appreciating what KCBS has done and what they're doing, and obviously there's always going to be room for improvement, just like there is here on the show, as always. Dave, you are by far going crazy in the chat room right now with people wanting you to run for president of KCBS, of the United States of America. They want you to be on for a full hour instead of 30 minutes. Quite frankly, I've blown out my whole clock just so I could give you a little bit room to move here, as people are saying this is another classic appearance from Dave Bosque. Why don't you just move to Cleveland, get a microphone, and we can just co-host this bad bitch together? What about that? No?
Well, I'm not going to say move to Cleveland. No, I kind of like my Oklahoma weather. I appreciate the offer, though.
Yeah, no problem.
Maybe I'll have to send you a do-rag.
Let's go ahead and do Survey Tuesday questions really quickly while I have you before I let you go. Question number 1, are ceramic cookers overrated?
I'll be honest with you, I've never cooked on a ceramic cooker, so I'm going to have to plead the fifth on that.
All right, question number 2. Oh, jeez. Is the Sam's Club National Tour good or bad for barbecue?
The tour is good for barbecue.
All right, good for barbecue. Question number 3, hot and fast or low and slow?
I'm a low and slow guy.
Is hot and fast a fad, or do you think that's something that's just going to continue on through the annals of competition barbecue?
Now, the guys that cook hot and fast, you have to learn how to do that, and those that do it are very good at what they do. Hot and fast has got its place.
All right, Dave Bosque, you know him. He is Butcher Barbecue, the competition team, butcherbbq.com, and sponsor of this show, which we are very proud to have him. Dave, appreciate the time tonight. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Can I throw something out real quick?
Go.
All right. I get emails every week for classes and stuff. I'm keeping every one of those emails. We are working on a class in Southern California at this point. Ooh. It is almost finalized. We're real close. It will be the end of this year. Well, I'm also working for one on the East Coast. It's not finalized. It's not closed, but we are working on a site out there. But if you're interested in one, shoot me an email, and I will keep it, and that'll be the first group of folks that know about it.
All right, Dave, always appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Greg, for having me.
You got it. There he is. Dave Bosca, Butcher Barbecue. Holy moly. Another gem, as they say in the business. Absolutely. Wow. Sam's Club's going to start their own tour. You heard it here first, thanks to Dave Bosca. All right, gang, quickly, let me talk to you about Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply. Let me get this crazy guy up here. Where is he? There he is. There he is. Fred Bernardo, smoking guitar player. Look, I think we can all agree that there are creeping marauders at each and every turn on the internet. Sometimes you're looking for a barbecue or grilling item that just isn't stocked anywhere in your hometown or the next town over or the next town over from that. Your options have become limited. You are now forced to go online to buy the item that you want, or you're just going to have to go without it. The internet grip sets in. The hands start to sweat. Your neck tightens. You've been screwed on the internet before with your purchases, and you don't want it to happen again. After all, this is your hard-earned money you are spending. You need to feel confident that the company you're buying from is honest and fair. Good news, folks. Let Fred Bernardo and the gang over at Tasty Licks Barbecue relieve you of your internet buying stresses. Tasty Licks has one of the most complete inventories on the barbecue and grilling market on the face of the earth. All of these items that you see on Fred's website in stock. They're ready to ship to you directly. Now, are there other places on the internet that might have them for cheaper? Perhaps. But are you 100% confident that you're actually going to get the item you buy? And how long is it going to take till you get to you, shipping-wise? All of these are great questions. No one can answer with 100% assurity. Now, when you buy from Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply, the items are in the store, they ship to you promptly, and everything is in the store and priced fairly. Look, if you want to call Fred Bernardo and try and work out a deal on something, I'm sure he's more than happy to field the phone call. You got to lob him that phone call and see what you can work out from there. Tasty Licks carries grills, smokers, ceramic cookers, electric cookers, various types of charcoals, wood chunks and chips, cookbooks, accessories. If they don't have it, you don't need it. On top of all that, Fred carries many of the other show sponsors in his store as well. So if you're almost doing like this 2-for-1 thing where you're shopping at a sponsor and you're buying sponsors' products, best of both worlds. Don't forget that Tasty Licks has their own line of barbecue sauces and rubs as well. You got to be sure to try those. Now remember this, April 28th, Kenny and Bob from the Guru, the Barbecue Guru, will be doing demonstrations at the store in Shillington, Pennsylvania. They'll be using the Guru on the Big Green Egg and other cookers, and they'll be doing the Onyx Oven demos as well. Starts at 11 a.m. It's free. Just go, no registering. And again, that's April 28th. Barbecue Bob and Barbecue Kenny from the Guru will be doing those demonstrations. Head over to tastylicksbbq.com and let the confidence exude from your fingertips as you make online purchases, and then just sit back and enjoy your items upon delivery. And don't forget that Fred and the gang are there to help you after the sale as well if you need it. tastylicksbbq.com. That's tastylicksbbq.com. We wrap it up quickly after this. Stand by.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
We are back 5 past the hour of 11. Sorry, it's late. I know. Dave, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but we had kind of a crappy connection there. We didn't miss anything that you said, which I guess was nice, except there happened to be like a 2 or 3 second delay. I couldn't figure out if you were just trying to stop yourself from swearing or if you were doing a little self-dump button type deal. No? So we'll work on that for next time, but one of the all-time interviews already in the annals of the show. So there you go. Quickly recap as we try and get out and we're late. This can't happen once you get on the real radio. Very first hour, we had Jeff Brown, Wildcatters Q Crew. They won the Midwest City, Oklahoma Sam's Club local event. They'll be moving on to the regional round. Also, Robin Lindars from Grill Girl, GRRRL.com. She'll be competing in Memphis in May. Second hour, we had Conrad Haskins of the Barbecue Institute, bbqinstitute.com. Check him out. Check out those classes, man. The fajita classes, the regular traditional barbecue classes, all that stuff, especially geared to somebody more like me, like the backyard guy, not the competition chef, although Conrad's competition chops are well up to par as well. Is that redundant? bbqinstitute.com. Check them out. Also, thanks to Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue for joining me, talking about how he's not moving on to Sam's Club, how Sam's Club may or may not be starting their own thing a little bit later, testing the waters, as he put it, and talking about his competition scene over there in Midwest City, Oklahoma as well, where he finished 5th overall at the Sam's Local. Dave's in it for the points this year, so Team of the Year candidates take notice. You better start stacking them up before he starts packing them in. Let me remind you to control the rusty grill grate population. If you have raw cast iron after each and every use, as it starts to cool down, hit it with a little bit of PAM. Hit it with some Crisco, let it burn back in. It gives you years of rust-free service if you keep it maintained just that simply. Also, September 11th, 2001, I will never forget. Next week's show loaded already, and we will be ready for it. You're right, Sylvie, no Michael Simon. But until then, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.